Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. Welcome to a Monday edition of the program, Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got lots to talk about today. We'll have JC here in just a minute on the Titan MR hotline. Then we'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com get his reactions and what came out of the game yesterday. Healthy. Very, very weird weekend playing on a Sunday, no question about it. Once again, our thoughts and prayers go with the folks down in the Southwest Florida area. As y'all know, our Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte, is one of our big sponsors, especially for JC and mine's picks. The owner asked us if we could ask all our listeners to make a small donation and whatever you can handle to the American Red Cross. He says it is really bad down there, but the American Red Cross is doing wonderful things for the community. So if you feel that in your heart, please do that. We appreciate Joe Lawson from Peachland Dental being a part of our program. And if we can give back to their community, he says it's really bad down there. So, and then we'll have JC join us here in just a second. I think JC's on the Titan MR hotline. JC, you're on the Titan MR hotline. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you. Up in Nashville, beautiful day, beautiful weather. And I reiterate everything you said about the area and the folks down in Southwest Florida. We've been thinking about them for the whole week. And the American Red Cross is a wonderful way to at least give some support to an area that's going to take a long time to get back.
Yeah, speaking of that, I just mentioned Joe Lawson at Peachland Dental, one of our main sponsors of our Peachland Dental weekend picks.
Yeah.
I beat the heck out of you, JC, by the way.
Oh, you're kidding me. Did you really? Really?
JC, I went 11-2.
Oh.
You went 8-5, so you still had a good day. But your triple sombrero or whatever the hell you called it, you went 1-2 in that, my man.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm very disappointed in that. We can't debut the triple play special that poorly, so we'll bounce back hard this weekend.
All right, so on the year on the Peachland Dental picks, you're 36-32-1. I think I'm just going to throw the 1 out. That's just too much bookkeeping. And I'm 34-34. So
wow, you got back to unbelievable week. You got back to 500. What were your only 2 losses, if you remember?
The Georgia Bulldogs and NC State.
Okay, yeah. Well, listen, I got to say something. Georgia has had for 2 straight weeks games where we thought they would win by 4 or 5 touchdowns, and it's been anything but that. Are you at all thinking that maybe this team may not be as good as last year's team, QB?
No. Look,
you're not.
You go back to any teams that win national titles or dominating teams, they always have a couple of games where they sputter around, and it's all about winning and advancing. And Stetson played horrible. I mean, he still threw for 300-something yards, but he had 2 balls slip out of his hands that gave Missouri easy points. So they play Auburn, the oldest SEC rivalry game in the history of the conference this weekend between the hedges. And I think they bury the Auburn Tigers, but we'll see. We got a lot to talk about. We'll start with college football. What surprised you? What didn't surprise you? Are you worried? Is Bryce Young going to be okay, JC? Did your sources tell you he's okay?
Well, the sources tell me it's not a serious injury, but it's going to linger. It's one of those things where he's had before, and it's always been a few days, maybe even a week until he's gotten back to feeling normal. Whether he plays this weekend or not, I think remains to be seen, but at least we're not talking about a shoulder separation, a broken collarbone, or something worse. So I think Alabama will be okay, but you could tell in that game against Arkansas how out of place they felt offensively. But now what happens is that with Jalen Milroe having played a lot of time in that game, it gives A&M and these teams that Alabama's about to play maybe something else to prepare for. Now you've got two quarterbacks potentially that you're going to see, and they're very different in the way they approach offense, I think. So Alabama is now going to present two different types of offenses now that maybe this weekend's team and the next weekend's team will have to prepare for. That could be an advantage to them, but it is without a doubt impossible for Alabama, I think, to win a championship or to meet the standards that they've set there without Bryce Young. So I'm impressed with the way they dominated Arkansas early. I was impressed that Arkansas didn't quit, but I think Alabama is still the class of the West, and with Bryce Young, we'll play in the SEC championship game against somebody. Now, last year's Georgia team doesn't play a close game against Missouri, but I think you're right. All teams that do win something big usually do have those one or two games where they could have lost, and Missouri could have won that game. They led for most of the game in that night. So, it's the SEC. It's difficult. I'll tell you, a conference that impressed me, QB, was the Big 12. You're looking at some of these teams like Kansas State. And, the state of Kansas alone has not had something like this happen. It reminded me of 2014 when the state of Mississippi had the number 1 and number 5 ranked team in the country as late as November. That was in 2014 with Ole Miss, Mississippi State. So Kansas has now got 2 winning football programs right now. Kansas has already eclipsed their win total for the year that Vegas had them at, and they get a true test this weekend. So I'm impressed with some of those teams. Oklahoma's a disappointment for sure, but Venables is going to need some time to get some of his guys in there. And I think Clemson now is a team you're going to have to say has got the 2 hardest games on their schedule behind them and will cruise to another ACC championship and most likely a playoff spot.
Yeah, no doubt. Clemson was very impressive. NC State had their chances in that game. We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. This is from Chris in, I don't even know how to pronounce that town. I guess it's down in Southwest Florida. Have you ever heard of Myakka City? JC?
I have not. Myakka? Okay. No, I can't say that.
Myakka City, I guess you would pronounce it. He says flooding and damage is really bad here. Power will be out for weeks, but really interested to hear your thoughts on Kitna's performance in the mop-up duty yesterday. Okay, we'll jump to that. I thought Jalen Kitna was outstanding. I mean, don't take away Eastern Washington. What was impressive to me, he was extremely accurate and he threw on time, folks. Offensively, he played real well. Defensively, there's still a million concerns. Eastern Washington pretty much did what they wanted to do on offense. I love their scheme and their play calling. Sometimes they just didn't execute it. But Kitna was very, very sharp. Billy even said last week during one practice he threw 100% completions during the entire practice, which is pretty much unheard of. So taking a step there, and Anthony played well. But yeah, so thoughts and prayers to you guys down there in Myakka City, wherever that might be.
Yeah.
I want to go back to college football. One of the bigger games early in the day was Kentucky and Ole Miss, 2 undefeated teams, and Kentucky pretty much gave that game away. They had their last 3 possessions went inside Ole Miss's 25-yard line, came away with no points. They missed 2 extra points, missed a field goal, and they had a kickoff return that would have been a touchdown, but the poor guy tripped on his own teammate. So Ole Miss had a lot of things go their way. Give them credit. But Kentucky and Ole Miss, neither one of them are top 10 teams. However, Ole Miss is now a top 10 team, but they're not. There's only 3 really good football teams. And I may throw Clemson in there now and make them the 4th.
I would.
And then I think everybody else is just they're just guys.
Well, yeah, on the Kentucky game, you go ahead, you have a go-ahead touchdown. The receiver makes a fantastic acrobatic catch, and you get a false start. Kentucky was their own worst enemy.
That was not a false start. That was the quarterback.
I'm sorry. What was it? Oh,
it was movement, but the quarterback didn't let them get set because they went hurry up.
Yeah. Okay. So that's true. Illegal. Well, okay, but it was still a penalty. It took away a go-ahead touchdown. It could have won the game for them. I think certainly it's Georgia, and then Tennessee, Kentucky fight for number 2 in the East. I was not surprised to see Mississippi State romp Texas A&M, second year in a row that's happened. For all of the banter that Jimbo Fisher collects, let's remember that it was Jameis Winston and a couple other guys that he put in the pros that got him the wins he had that allowed him to command a contract like this from some poor guy in Texas that's got more money than he needs to spend. And the fact is that Texas A&M, when he starts blaming the players after the game for not executing the plan, the real issue is the plan, and that's on Jimbo. So this guy has shown his true colors just like he did in the offseason, and he's going to take another big one this weekend with or without Bryce Young. So that's going to happen, and they're going to be 7-5, 8-4, and this is what they're paying for. And he's going nowhere because they owe him $85 million, so they're not going to be able to buy him out. He's there for the long term. Have fun. Enjoy your life, Texas A&M. I would say also that Mississippi State, it's just one of those hard places to play in Starkville. We've all been there. We've all seen it, been there. It's just a weird type of environment and atmosphere. And so that's a team that can really sneak up on you like we've talked about all year. LSU does not impress me for having 2 wins in the SEC. LSU could easily have 2 losses. Auburn and Mississippi State played them to the very end. LSU will catch a loss probably this weekend against Tennessee, and I think it's great. And I think it is absolutely great that they get to play at 11 a.m. out there and get to feel like what the rest of the conference has been feeling for the last 3 years with these damn noon games. So have fun with that. You got Tennessee coming in. It's probably the best game of the year for them coming into their stadium other than Alabama, and they get to play it at 11 a.m. So, yeah, that's around the conference. And again, to me, there were some impressive games across the country, but the Big 12 Conference kind of stands out for me right now a little bit.
Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darring, we be a realtor with Caldwell Banker M.M. Parrish will value fast, friendly, and reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. We're speaking with JC on the Titan More Hotline. He's in my favorite city in America, Nashville. JC, when did you get there?
I got in here last night around 4:30 at 5 o'clock, and we went down Broadway. This place is Vegas without the casinos, but with music everywhere. It is so loud downtown, where you see literally every single bar. It's better than Austin because Austin's big and it's a big time music city, but this place is the capital of music. And it's not just country music too. And they have modern type of contemporary music as well. But it is, if you're a music lover, you must treat yourself to Nashville, Tennessee, and you must walk up and down Broadway just once in your life by the river. Across the river is where the Tennessee Titans play. You walk across the bridge, there's Nissan Stadium. But Broadway Street is just phenomenal. The music down there, it's nonstop. It's every single night. If you're looking to cut your teeth in the music industry and hit it big, you have to be here because this is where you're going to get seen, folks. So any of our aspiring music artists out there, get on the road.
That's me, JC.
Well, then get on the road up here, QB. Get on up. Yeah, I'm telling you, brother.
There's only one problem. For my aspirations to be a country music star,
you can't sing.
I can't play a damn instrument, and I can't sing. I'm pretty good in the car by myself, though. I ain't gonna lie. But I would be very good in the background, just act like I'm strumming a guitar.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And kind of just moving my mouth to the words of the song. But as soon as I started singing, we'd go out of business for sure. But yeah, Broadway Street is my favorite place.
It's unbelievable. Tennessee's a great state. No state income taxes. They have legalized sports wagering that you can do on your cell phone. Nobody cares. It's a grown-ups place. It's for grown-ups, and it's a great place to enjoy yourself and do pretty much what you want. The food is phenomenal. The barbecue is great. I had tacos last night at a place called Bakersfield. It's just a fun place to escape to if you need somewhere to go, and it's not far. You can get a direct flight out of Jacksonville. You can take a one-hopper on Delta through Atlanta. You get there in 30 minutes after Atlanta. So
everybody knows how to get there. They know how to get there.
It's a great place. Great place.
Cliff says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. He says, by the way, I love how Sean Kelly refers to me, Shane, calling for Florida to take a shot down the field as Shane's taking a shot. We're trying to get a sponsor for that. I got a bunch of tweets on Twitter, like Shane's Shots, brought to you by Wild Turkey.
Yes.
So, I mean, I love taking shots, especially after you get a turnover. But we appreciate you listening, Cliff. We had some fun on the broadcast yesterday. We had to talk about all kinds of stuff because it gets out of hand.
QB, I was listening to you on the road to Jacksonville Airport on Sirius. You were on channel 84 on Sirius Satellite Radio, and I heard the Shane shots. And I think they did throw it downfield after that turnover when he was talking about Shane shots. And I did enjoy the call with you and Sean, and certainly enjoyed Ricky Pearsall getting one downfield finally. Getting to see his speed and breaking that tackle at the end before he got to the end zone. I think Florida needs that dude if they're going to be a threat. And if you can get him the ball, man, some fun things could happen. So that was one of the highlights for me listening to you guys call on the game in the first half.
Yeah, Charlie says on Facebook Live, I'll see you, Shane, in Nashville against Vanderbilt November 19th. Also, the Tampa Bay Lightning play the Predators that evening.
Right. It's unbelievable. Right there on Broadway.
I may have to skip the UAA dinner and go down to Broadway myself on that.
Yeah.
Or miss the plane coming back after the game.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, do it. QE plan for it, man. I mean, that Tampa, that Bridgestone Arena is literally right on Broadway in the middle of it all. It's fun.
All right. So we got a text here from Frank on the Titan MR text line. He says, I heard that our defense will prevent cut blocks. Have you heard of this before, and wouldn't this affect their ability for penetration? They only did that a couple of times against Utah. They haven't done that since, Frank. We just aren't getting much penetration with our front four, and we won't. I mean, it is what it is. You just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It says Utah beat Oregon State and had not lost since losing to us 4-1. Yeah, they're 4-1. Yeah, they're a good football team. They did lose. Look, it's a great story. Utah plays beat Washington, who's undefeated this week. I did stay up and watch some of USC because I wanted to watch. I think Caleb Williams is outstanding, by the way. But let me tell you, I don't know, JC, if I've ever seen a defense as bad as USC's. All those years that Oklahoma went to the playoffs, could score but couldn't stop anybody. Okay, think of that times 10. Okay, USC has a starting middle linebacker that is 6'6", 200 pounds. Think about what I just said.
Okay?
If you're 6'6", 200 pounds, you should be playing like maybe wide receiver or maybe small forward on the basketball team. But their defensive line is so small and literally looks like a high school team. I could not believe what I was watching. So Lincoln Riley, I think he's going to be outstanding out there, but it ain't happening this year. They're going to score, but the other team is going to score just as much. They are horrible on defense.
I got them losing potentially to Utah, Washington, or UCLA, and maybe even Oregon State. But you're right about their defense, and people have said that about them. They haven't been exposed truly yet. But Alex Grinch, who is the D coordinator that Lincoln Riley brought, has his work cut out for him. He's got to find players. And USC is 1 or 2 years away, certainly, I think, or maybe even more. But I agree with you 100%. That's the big thing about them. They haven't been tested yet. When they play UCLA, Washington, and certainly Utah, they will have their hands full, big time.
Yeah, Chris says on Facebook Live, listen to you guys on the radio yesterday. I could tell you guys were having fun, and you did great. How did number 22 Jackson look to you? Well, Khalil got in for about 3 plays. He lined up in the slot like a stand-up tight end, like his daddy did. And I actually said he made Kidna threw him a beautiful corner route on time, and he laid out. And of course, as I'm describing the play, what do you think I said? JC, I said, Kidna dropped back through a beautiful corner route to Willie Jackson, who laid out and made a beautiful catch.
Yeah. Man, your head is still there. It's good. You 90s guys never forget. Well, listen, I think, let me ask you this question, QB. With Kidna having gotten all those reps yesterday and played extremely well, in your mind, do you think Jack Miller has something to worry about when he gets back in terms of backup duty?
I mean, it's going to take him a while to get acclimated to throwing. I think he went back to throwing last week. But, I mean, look, I don't really give a damn about the backup quarterback unless the backup quarterback has to go in the game, right? People worry about it. But we're okay there. Jack's a good thrower of the football. as well. All right, JC, before we let you go here, I know you got stuff to do up in Nashville, and you got to go eat a big breakfast for your big day.
Right.
The NFL yesterday had some crazy games again, boy. Teams coming from way behind. Buffalo. Did you see the ending of the Buffalo Baltimore game?
I saw it in the airport. In hindsight, John Harbaugh's talking about, I should have gotten the points with the field goal. I mean, they've got first and goal, they don't score, and he takes a fourth down play that had no chance, and Buffalo wins the game by field goal. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I don't want to hear about analytics. I don't want to hear about anything. Be smart about it and take those 3 points and make Buffalo try to beat you. At worst, tie you. It's just unbelievable to me what these coaches are doing these days on fourth down or when they're adding up the score and trying to figure out whether to go for 2 or not. It just blows my mind where all of a sudden now we talk about things that we've never talked about in our life. It's called analytics. Whatever. Do the math. Forget about the analytics. Do the math. So that bothered me there watching what Baltimore did. And I was impressed for a while with Jacksonville until Philadelphia woke up. I was certainly expecting the Colts to at least put up a fight. They did not. And Tennessee is now 2-2. They'll probably win the division in the AFC South. But I think the Falcons were impressive. They've gone to 2-2 now. I think tonight's game will be exciting with the Rams and 49ers. And I 100% believe that if the Kansas City Chiefs get going like they did last night, I don't care about Buffalo beating them because they won't. Not in Kansas City. If the Chiefs get going like they did last night, they are winning the Super Bowl. That's just the way I see it. I'm sorry. They're too good when Mahomes gets going like he did. And I'm not taking anything away from Buffalo, but the Bills have proven they can't beat the Chiefs. Not in Kansas City, at least not yet. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be the AFC Championship game. Probably will be. Those are the two teams that clearly, to me, stand out in the NFL and definitely in the AFC.
Yeah, they took it to the Buccaneers last night. Tampa's just not. Tampa's not. They're a good team, but they're one of the maybe 5th or 6th best team in the NFC. But yeah, Mahomes was ridiculous last night. I couldn't believe some of the stuff he was doing.
Just seems like when they pay attention and they really want to play well, because the week before QB they scored 17 points in a loss, and it was like, well, who are these guys? They showed up last night focused and ready to play, and Andy Reid was just game scheming everything he could. He could find open receivers everywhere. And that's not a slouch defense they played last night, and they carved them up. So Kansas City impresses me. I think the 49ers are another team to watch out for. The Rams, of course, out west. But clearly to me, the NFC's up for grabs, and the AFC's a 2-horse race, if you ask me. Now, Baltimore with Lamar, but they'll game plan against Lamar in the playoffs, and he'll do awful, and they'll lose. And then, Tennessee just doesn't have the horses, I think, to keep up offensively with those two teams. It's Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC, and there's like 4 or 5 teams in the NFC that are going to play for the conference championship.
Yeah, we got a text here from Bobby on the Titan MR text line. What are you guys' thoughts on Wake Forest, Florida State? Well, I picked Wake to win the game. I think Wake's quarterback is phenomenal, Sam Hartman. Wake is a team that just hangs around, but, boy, they took it to them up in Tallahassee.
They did. Well, I like their – and let's face it, Florida State, I expected to score more points, and Wake's defense played a better game, a cleaner game, to give their offense a chance to win it. And they were the better team. There's no doubt about it. They were the better team. That one side of the division, I think it's the Atlantic in the ACC, has 4 pretty decent teams. And in the Coastal, you've got basically nobody. So, Pitt lost to Georgia Tech yesterday. So or Saturday. So that was a shocker. Good for the new coach at Georgia Tech. But, I was stunned by that game. But at any rate, no, I think it's Clemson. It's clearly Clemson. They've got their 2 toughest games in my mind out of the way. The Miami and FSU, to me, will not pose a threat to Clemson. Not on that defense. I just don't see it.
No, I agree 100% with that for sure. Before we let you go, JC, was there anything that surprised you in college football over the weekend?
Well, the surprise would have been that Georgia Tech Pitt game. I know nobody was paying attention to it, but we were clearly talking about 2 different types of team, a defending conference champion having trouble with a team that I didn't know was even going to win a conference game. That was somewhat of a surprise. I did not expect to see Oklahoma play so poorly defensively. I think TCU is a team people better keep their eye on. And again, it goes back to my earlier statement about the Big 12. I think there's 3 or 4 really legitimate offenses in that conference that can give people absolute headaches. and TCU and Kansas are going to play this weekend, and that's the game of the week. I mean, that's where game day's going. They're going to Lawrence, Kansas, QB. What kind of odds could I have gotten on that? That the Kansas Jayhawks at 5-0 would be hosting College game day against the TCU Horned Frogs and their 8,000 student enrollment in Fort Worth. My God. And they're just running up and down the field. Sonny Dykes has got something going special at TCU. Keep your eye on that team. Keep your eye on that team. I also think it'll be good that Texas is getting Ewers back in all likelihood. They would probably win this game at the Red River rivalry because Oklahoma is reeling. I think Sark is going to score as many as he wants to in that game this weekend in Dallas. But as far as college football goes, QB, I think, the Missouri game with Georgia was somewhat of a surprise that it was that close for that long to me. And certainly Missouri was there. The other surprise was what happened in the Big Ten West. We all thought Minnesota, we went ahead and crowned them to be the winner of the Big Ten West and go to Indianapolis. And Purdue just routed them, just beat them like a drum in Minneapolis. That was a surprise to me as well, QB.
Yeah, well, they got their quarterback back. Purdue did, and we know Jeff Brom can call plays. He's been out the last couple of weeks. Two more coaches were let go this weekend. Carl Doral at Colorado and Paul Christ, who had long-time coach it. A lot of people are upset about this Wisconsin firing because he's won like 75% of his games.
But it's awful to watch, QB.
Well, it's so bad. I mean, it's like watching paint dry. But I don't know who they're going to hire at Wisconsin. The only way they're going to make Wisconsin fun to watch is you bring in some Big 12 coach that throws air raid or whatever. But I was surprised that they fired him, maybe because they got pounded by Brett Bielema's Fighting Illini at home. I don't know. But that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, well, they've lost 3 games that will make you shake your head. I mean, Ohio State, we knew was going to beat them, but the way they beat them was ridiculous. And then the week before that, Wisconsin lost a bad game at home. And then here comes, like you said, Illinois, who is now, I guess, along with Purdue, the 2 leaders in the West. What kind of odds could you have gotten on that? So that's, again, all the powers in the Big Ten East. We all know that it's Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State in the Big Ten East. Those are going to be the 3 teams that threaten for that title, if you will. And the winner of that side of the conference is likely going to have no problem. As far as coaches go, I wouldn't be surprised if Louisville called Jeff Brom. I think Louisville is going to be looking for one here soon. I've never bought into Satterfield, although I do know he was great at Appalachia State. But I think you might have Jeff Brom be the next Louisville coach in all potential because he was the Louisville Cardinal. He could go back to his school.
But going from the Big Ten to the ACC, I mean, is that kind of a lateral move? I know you're going to play where you play. I mean, coach where you play, but you got to think Papa John's is going to throw out a lot of money to him, right?
I would think that, and you also have to remember, too, the ACC's television contract is nothing compared to what the Big Ten's television contract is. The resources are going to be much better in the Big Ten for schools there. They're getting 2 times or 3 times the amount of money that schools in the ACC are locked into with their current contract. So the ACC's got a strategical and logistical issue with their television money here because their contract is so far out, and the money is not nearly what it will be in the Big Ten or what it is now in the Big Ten and what it will be in the SEC. The SEC is about to redo their TV deal. These things matter, maybe not to coaches on game day because of X's and O's, but they matter in terms of resources and what coaches are offering their assistant coaches and the money they're going to have to be able to throw around and make their programs competitive with every other thing that's important in college football. And to me, the ACC is at a competitive disadvantage. So you're right. Papa John's going to have to step up if Louisville wants to be competitive.
And Andy says on Facebook Live, Lance Leipold was coaching at Wisconsin Whitewater. I think he's from Wisconsin, so that would probably be their choice, and I bet he takes that job for sure. All right, Jason. Matt says Mullen to Wisconsin. That would be a horrible fit.
I couldn't imagine his family going up and living in Madison, dude. I couldn't see that happening. No, I just don't think that's
when you're hanging out at Reynolds Plantation outside of Atlanta, there's no way in hell I would go to Madison, Wisconsin.
Exactly. And then you got to deal with Ohio State, in the Big Ten every year. Or almost, forget it. What's the point? I agree with you. I don't see Mullen at all. But, these guys have to coach somewhere. They want jobs. They love coaching. It's what they do. I think he'll land on his feet somewhere, and somebody will pick him up. Maybe once Leipold leaves Kansas, maybe he'll go there. I don't know. I just know that I think that's a good call on Leipold. But, boy, he loves Kansas right now. What they're doing there is just so exciting. It is good for the Big 12. It's good for football in general. I think it's fun.
All right, last text before we let you go from Robert. He says, JC, are you concerned at all with Bryce Young's injury? We touched on that earlier.
Yeah.
I will say this. Alabama is not going to go to the playoffs, or they might get into the playoffs without Bryce Young, but they ain't winning anything with Bill Rhodes, the quarterback. He's basically put number 34 on him, and he's another tailback because if he cannot throw at all.
But I will say, if Bryce Young is healthy, they look very complete. They're getting better on offense. And this kid Gibbs, what a pickup he was from Georgia Tech. And the receivers are going to get better. They're going to get that Louisville transfer back in the lineup to threaten the deep ball. And Alabama, with a healthy Bryce Young, will be as tough as anybody to beat in the country. But without him, I think you're right. It's going to be a tall order for them to win the SEC.
Yep, y'all become Army out of the shotgun.
Okay.
Fred says on the Titanmore text line, Damian Pierce is leading all rookies and killing it with the Texans. Yeah, he ran real well yesterday.
That.
He's a good.
I love
back.
Good for him.
No question at all. All right, JC, enjoy Nashville, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Yeah, you got it. See you then, guys. Thanks.
That's JC. Join us on the Titanmore hotline. We're going to take a timeout. We come back. We'll be joined by Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com, recapping yesterday's win over the Eastern Washington Eagles. Get his thoughts on Coach Napier's presser and get an update on the injuries. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Escape Apology, F45 Training, Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike Prime and Pearl, and the HBC's Restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Now selling head beer, Coach American Lager in 16-ounce cans, where you can get that at Spurrier's, Visors Rooftop, or Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We're going to head to the Titanmore Hotline. We're going to be joined by senior writer from FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How are you, buddy?
Shane, what's going on, man? Monday morning, time to talk football.
We are going to talk football, but you're my baseball guy as well. Give me and our loyal listeners very, in 1 minute, what the hell's going on in Major League Baseball? Are all the postseason teams, are they set? Are we still waiting? Because I don't follow it till postseason starts.
Yeah, I think everybody's set now because the Padres, or maybe the Phillies and Brewers, I think that's the one in the National League that's still out there. So they're fighting for positioning, the Braves and Mets. I'm a big Braves fan. Have my Alabama Cup again today, from your listener last
I told you, how do you know the difference between the A's, right?
No, I don't remember what you said.
Okay, so that's your Braves A. If the Alabama A has this little line at the top left of the A, a little, and so they call that the Alabama mullet.
Alabama mullet. That's
So that little thing at the top of the A, that little dash, little looking thing. That's the Alabama mullet. That's how you know the difference.
Well, the Braves beat up the Mets over the weekend. That was my best story in Major League Baseball over the weekend. They got a little lead now, so looking forward to the postseason as always, man.
Yeah. We've had a bunch of people today talk about the success that Damian Pierce has had in the last couple of games, and he's been outstanding. He was one of your favorite guys to cover, right?
He was. He was a great guy. And I remember the first time I ever met Damian, he came up here to our office to have a mugshot. You know, he was a freshman. He just walks into my office unannounced and starts telling a story. I can't even remember what it was about, man. I'm like, wow, this is not your normal freshman who just got here. So he's always been a favorite. And of course, he's quickly becoming a favorite in Houston, it looks like, man. Showing off some speed yesterday, Shane.
Yeah, there's no question. He's a really good player, and I'm excited for him, and he'll have a long career. I said every time I watched him play, I'm like, this dude's going to play in the NFL. He may never be a starter.
Yeah.
But he's a great teammate, and he's going to play hard, and he's going to play hard on special teams, which a lot of times young people, that's how you get into the NFL. But it's great to see him having a lot of success. All right, let's go back to yesterday. It was a weird deal. I thought the crowd was outstanding. I was shocked there was that many people there.
Same here. I remember you stopping by the seat in the press box, and we were both, I had over and under, 25,000-30,000. And it was a lot better than that, and just a really good crowd on a Sunday afternoon. But yeah, I did not expect that either, Shane.
All right, so the Gators played really well on offense. Pretty much could do anything they wanted to do. Defensively, we still have some issues. We can talk about it for hours, but it is what it is. I just think that's how it's going to be this year. We had Andy and a couple other people ask, and I was waiting for you to come on. Did any of the reserves, backups, catch your eye that might be able to help this team the rest of the year? I know it's hard to determine that. I know Kitna. I thought Kitna was outstanding, but we'll talk about him in a minute. But anybody else catch your eye?
Well, I mean, just seeing Kamari Wilson on the field more, I mean, that was a good thing. I thought Shamar James had a pretty decent game, although we've seen him on the field some early in the season. I think he got his most snaps yesterday. Jaden Hill being back, even though he's not in that young, what they're probably asking about, he's not a true freshman or anything. But when you look at his career, I mean, he hasn't played a lot. He's been injured since the 2020 season. So getting him back in the rotation, I think, can help. And, I think Caleb Douglas is the one guy who, he had that nice catch yesterday. And I remember Caleb during the preseason camp. I was at a scrimmage. You may have been there too. And they didn't do a lot offensively that scrimmage, but he had a really nice catch across the middle. It was the only play that really stood out to me, that whole scrimmage offensively. And we were talking about him, and I just remember thinking, well, I looked some stuff up on him. And, like Napier said yesterday, former quarterback who's turned into receiver. And, you never know. Maybe he can get in that rotation a little bit as the season goes on. But I do think defensively, especially some of the guys getting more reps yesterday, that will hopefully help because they need those reps. And
yeah, I like 12 a lot at wide receiver. I kind of forgot about him until he was inserted yesterday. Ran a beautiful route on that go route. He stacked the guy nicely, and it was a beautiful thrown ball by Jalen Kitna. So basically, I think that's the first he's played this year, right? Caleb Douglas?
Yeah, first career catch.
So his red shirt is gone, correct or no? No, because the rule is it's different than when I played.
Yeah,
it had to be like the first 3 games or 4 games. Now it could be any of the 4 games, right?
Yeah. My knowledge, that is right.
Andy says Dejon Reynolds made a couple of nice catches. Yeah, I'm a big Dejon Reynolds fan as well. So it was good seeing him out there also. John said, I was so happy when they finally gave Ricky an end around play to get him in the open field instead of giving it to Henderson. Yeah, I tell you what, that was a little reverse they gave him. And that was regardless of who it was against, it was a very impressive run. I thought he was going to get pushed out of bounds. He gave a nice stiff arm, ran through the tackle. But he's probably faster than most people think.
I think so. And he's athletic and he's got a lot of tools that I can see him, maybe getting an opportunity at the next level. You want to see him maybe get more involved here. He's only going to be here for a short time, and there's a reason they brought him in. But yeah, that run yesterday, I think, just showed another side of him that the Florida fans haven't seen. And he caught Kitna's first pass. So I think that helped Kitna get in a little settled early in his time. But Pearsall, he's a good pickup, and now they're going to need him with this stretch in the SEC, man. 6 in a row, Shane.
Yeah, Chaz asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mountain Law, where's Miller? Is he healthy? He's not 100%. Where would you put him? 60%, somewhere around there?
Yeah, 60, 70, maybe up to 80. I mean, he didn't dress yesterday, so that told me a little bit. He's still not quite getting there. I mean, they listed him as more questionable this week after out the first 4 games. So he's obviously making progress, but at the same time, I don't know if it's as important this week, with what Kitna did. At least they have a little security blanket they've seen. They didn't have that until yesterday. So, but yeah, they obviously want to get Miller back because, anytime Anthony goes down, that's going to be a difficult transition for either one of those guys.
Yeah, text on the Titan Mark text line from an anonymous texter says, even with the blowout yesterday, it still looks like Florida's defense is regressing with every game. I mean, a game like this is hard to tell, but what concerned me is, I mean, say what you want to say. I thought Eastern Washington called a great game. I love some of the designs of what they did. They just didn't have the dudes to execute it at time. They set up a couple of beautiful screens.
Yep.
That were outstanding designs, outstanding calls. The problem was their tailback was a step too slow, and their linemen couldn't block our guys in space, which it's hard. Big guys have trouble doing that. But when you look at this defense, Billy said at halftime going in, it's bend but don't break. I think that's how we have to play this year. And I've had multiple people on here talk about our DBs play too far off. I get it, people. But I think Billy is so into analytics and knows we don't have a great defense and we're not going to have a great defense this year, that the percentages of a team driving the length of the field and scoring, something usually happens. You know what I mean? A holding call, a turnover, something like that. That's just my thoughts on it. What do you think about that, Scott?
Well, I mean, I'll go back to what he said after the game. I mean, I think he hit it on the head. I mean, they are a work in progress. Let's face it. It's not the kind of defense they want at Florida, when they get their program rolling. That's a fire alarm in the background if you guys hear that. Anyway.
Do you need to evacuate the dungeon over there?
No, I don't smell any smoke or see anything, so I think we're good. If I see smoke, I'm out. But anyway, going back to your question, after the game, Billy, he was asked about the chunk plays. Obviously, still more than he'd like. He did mention maybe they do need to do a little tighter coverage. He mentioned they're not maybe doing as good with leverage as they can. So I think they're going to continually reevaluate that unit, Shane. But bottom line is here, we're going to be talking about the defense giving up some plays all season. And there's a reason for that, because they don't have as many good players on defense as I think they do on offense. So, that's just the reality of it. I think that's where they are. But if they can show improvement throughout the year, I think yesterday was an improvement in some way. You got to remember, I sat there last year and watched Sanford roll up and down the field for 4 quarters against the defense. Yesterday, they really did kind of find a little roadblock there after those first couple drives, and they still gave up some yards, but it wasn't like Eastern Washington was threatening to score every drive.
Yeah, so, I was just thinking about it. In the transfer portal, if you think about it, 3 of our best players on offense, 2 came from Louisiana, 1 came from Arizona State. We didn't really add anybody that's helping us on the defensive side of the ball. Not because we didn't try, but am I missing somebody? Did we add anybody that's playing at all on the defensive side of the ball out of the portal?
Nah, not significantly, not right. I mean, they're mostly on offense with Pearsall and obviously Johnson and Osiris Torrance. So, I mean, I think they went more in the recruiting area on defense. That's just what they went after some guys, didn't land them. That's probably going to be the case every year. But also, it goes back, I still think, I mean, I don't want to pick on him, but I still haven't heard Javon Dexter mentioned a lot.
No,
he's a guy.
He gets blocked too much, Scott. It's that simple.
And maybe they're just all double teaming, but he's got to, I think, start showing up more. Maybe Jaden Hill adds some stability back there. We'll see. I think it's just going to be a work in progress, man. That's about the only way I know how to say it. Like Napier said it. It's not going to suddenly turn into the 85 Bears, guys.
No, it's not. Text here from Josh from Mississippi. He says, Shane, how did Kamari Wilson look from your viewpoint? I thought he did a good job from my view, but I'm no expert. Your thoughts? I thought he played well. I think the more he plays, the better he's going to get. It's hard to evaluate defensive players a lot of times because you don't know what the calls are, and I'm busy looking at other stuff. But what did Billy say in the press conference about a lot of these true freshmen that got to play a lot yesterday?
He said it was a big deal. I mean, he said you need games like this to get those guys in, to get them experience, to get them confidence. And it goes back to, guys we were just talking about, like, Shamar James or those young secondary, like, Darius Perkins played more, Kamari Wilson played more. Just getting those guys reps because practice is practice and it's a whole different thing. He said it's also good in the locker room. You're getting guys are feeling more part of it once they get out there and get to play and contribute. That shows up in the stat sheet. And it's an evaluation. It's a huge evaluation time. I mean, they're going to really look at that film and study those guys who got more playing time than usual to see where they may be able to help them or slide them in as the season progresses. I mean, it's still not even halfway into the season yet. So I think it was a big thing for the Gators yesterday.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears and put that game behind us. We move forward. Homecoming. The Missouri Tigers are rolling in. Gators trying to get their first win in the conference. We all saw what Missouri did against Georgia. And I try to tell people every game is different. I mean, think about you've been there. I've only been to Como one time. It was last year, and that atmosphere was just blah. I mean, it was terrible. But it was a day game. Both teams were horrible. They had the number one team rolling into town on a night game. They were juiced up. They were flying around, and they played so damn physical and fast. It was crazy. They may not play like that here. They might, but I doubt it. They're not a very good football team either. What do you know about the Missouri Tigers rolling into Gainesville?
Well, I know that since the Gators and Missouri have been playing in 12 in the SEC, this game has always been one of those that it's hard to kind of get a read. There's some weird things have happened in these games, and I won't be surprised at all if it's the same kind of game on Saturday. And speaking to your point, Shane, I mean, it's a noon game, so right there, it's going to be different. Even though it's a conference game, it's homecoming. Those noon games are hard, man. I thought the Gators handled yesterday pretty well overall, considering the unusual week. But Missouri, I mean, they opened some eyes with what they did against Georgia. They're leading, 19-12 going into the fourth quarter, and they really did. Like you said, they're playing really physical and making some plays, but just didn't have the finishers. And this is a game that, on paper, you like Florida. You feel good about it, but Missouri has some talent, just looking at their roster here. I mean, obviously, the quarterbacks have given Florida a lot of trouble in this series over the year. I don't know if Brady Cook is at that level as some of the other guys that we've seen. The guy who's with the Broncos now, name slipped me, but
he actually plays for the Seahawks now, I think.
Okay, anyway, they're slipping me. I don't follow them too closely after leaving, but they had some good quarterback play against the Gators over the years, and that's pulled out some surprises. And then Drinkwitz, I mean, the guy, he obviously doesn't like the Gators, Shane. He certainly didn't like Dan Mullen. So, they'll come down here fired up, but I just think that Florida is better overall, but we'll see, man.
No, Florida should win the game, but as you said, you just never know. Defensively, we need to make some stops somehow. They're probably going to try to run the football. They ran it pretty well at times against Georgia because people are going to try to keep Anthony and the tailbacks off the field. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending, right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Scott Carter, last thing for you. Jeff says, didn't we get Jalen Kimber from the portal in early 2020?
They did, yeah. Kimber did come from Georgia and had that big interception.
Yeah, I think so.
And
all right, Scott, good. Go ahead.
I was just thinking about Kimber. Of all the players we talked about, I don't remember seeing him much yesterday.
He played a little bit. He's still got that big cast on his hand.
Yeah, he's still not 100%.
Yeah. All right, Scott, we appreciate your time. Got any good stories, articles? Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter and everywhere else.
Yeah, man, just mostly on Gators, Scott Shane on Twitter. That's where I hang out the most, and on FloridaGators.com. And, we'll be pumping out some stuff on the Missouri game this week. And really, to me, just a stretch of I think these next two games, Missouri and LSU, I think if the Gators can take care of business there, it at least makes the Georgia game and the rest of the schedule easier. But if they keep winning one, losing one, then you just don't know. Maybe that's just what it's going to be all year,
Yeah. Drew Lock is the guy that you and I think about.
That was my bad.
Last question before we let you go. AR got banged up again yesterday, just rolled his ankle. Any news in the presser about that?
No, it was not a concern, not a factor in a post-game press conference. I mean, I think Anthony's just going to be banged up all year, but obviously it didn't seem to impact him any, after he came back in.
Yeah. All right, Scott. Rick says, it says what? Scott shaved. You shaved your beard off.
I did. It was an accident. I took a wrong cut, man, so I just went clean.
All right, Scott. Appreciate your time, man. We'll see you next week.
All right, see you guys.
That's Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. We're going to take a timeout, come back, get to this day in sports, and wrap up today's program.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right. With the right insurance options for you and your family, visitogreinsurance.com at 352-240-1779. This day in sports brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Give them a call today at 352-376-2366. This day in sports in 1989, Oakland Raiders promote 42-year-old Art Shell is the first African-American to be an NFL head coach in modern times, takes over from Mike Shanahan. That's this day in sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Don't forget, people, we want to thank Scott Carter and JC for joining us on the Titan MR Highline. Don't forget, if you can, make sure make a donation to the American Red Cross. We got a text today from our buddy Joe Lawson at Peachland Dental down there in the Southwest Florida area. He says it's just devastating. But the American Red Cross is doing wonders for that area. So if you can do that, we'd appreciate it. Andy says Ventrell Miller has to be the most fan-friendly player on the team. He signed more than 100 autographs for kids after the game. Great to see that. That's awesome. Thanks for letting us know that, Andy. Yeah, Ventrell seems like a sharp dude and understands the big picture for sure. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.